The fifth technique we are about to share is called spaced repetition. Don't worry, you don't have to go to space to practice this technique. It's about learning or practicing something over a period of several days instead of doing it in a single sitting. We all have experienced that if we try to glue things into our memory by repeating something multiple times, it doesn't stick very well in our mind and we soon forget it. Why does that happen? Let me share some interesting research with you. This forgetfulness results due to the spacing effect that was first identified by a German psychologist, Hermann Ebbinghaus. He is considered a pioneer of quantitative memory research. His most important research was about forgetting and learning. Here you see the forgetting curve that is based on his findings. This forgetting curve shows how a memory of new information decays in the brain. We see that the fastest drop happens after 20 minutes, and the curve then levels off after a day. And this is the learning curve. It illustrates that the memory mastery comes from repeated exposure to the material. Therefore, if we want to slow down the process of forgetting, we need to recall or revisit the information after we originally learned it. Going over the information later at intervals helps us remember a greater percentage of the material. Ebbinghaus also uncovered something extraordinary. Sometimes we feel like we have forgotten the information and we can't recall it. In such cases, a certain quantity of information is still stored in our subconscious minds, although it cannot be consciously retrieved. This stored information speeds up the process of relearning the same information later on. Ebbinghaus referred to these memories as savings. Okay, now that you understand, if you plan a series of shorter study sessions distributed over a period of several days, you will remember it longer, and it is better to practice bit by bit every day instead of cramming it all in one day. Now let's see, what should our strategy be to use this technique effectively? As you know, if you don't have a review program, you will forget almost everything you learn. So your first step should be to define a schedule for review of the information that you learned. The second step is to identify some means of storing and organizing information. It can be in the forms of handwritten notes or digital notes. Flashcards are considered a popular way of recording the information that you want to recall later. You can use either computer flashcards or paper flashcards. If you are already using digital notes, computer flashcards are a lot less work. Otherwise, you might prefer paper flashcards. The third step is to define a system for tracking your progress. If you make a schedule, store information effectively, but if you don't actually review it and track your progress, you'll miss all the benefits that come from the spaced repetition technique. After knowing the steps, the most important question you come across is, how often should you review the information? There is no perfect schedule for spaced repetition. The important thing is you want to review each fact just often enough so that you don't forget it. In fact, based on what you are studying and what your learning style is, the schedule will be different. The online apps use some algorithms that researchers are still trying to fine-tune. If you are using such apps to track your progress, it may look over your whole history with the piece of information you are trying to memorize. If you miss the answer, the card with info will show up more often. If you are tracking it manually, here is a basic schedule that you can use as a guideline. First, let's look at the review schedule. The first review happens immediately. The second review happens after an hour. The third review happens after a day. And the fourth review happens after 2 days. If you notice, as we go along, the days of repetition keeps increasing. In this review schedule, if you also notice, there are a bunch of repetitions right at the beginning when the information is new, and then far fewer later on. Do you see a pattern in the intervals I have mentioned? If you have used the Fibonacci sequence before, you'll immediately identify it. If not, I would suggest you to Google it and learn more about it. I would also suggest you to check out the Quora forum link I have mentioned in the resource section. There are tons of applications available online that can help you develop digital flashcard sets. One advantage is that such software helps you by taking care of the spacing interval for each flashcard, presenting you with the items you need to learn and review each day. One such application is Anki, while another popular space repetition program is SuperMemo, but that is a paid application. I prefer Anki, which is a free application and great for learning anything that needs to go into your long-term memory. It's available on almost every desktop and mobile platform. To begin, download Anki and install it on your preferred platform. If you have a smartphone or tablet, I recommend maintaining your deck on your desktop and synchronizing it with your mobile device. If you want to learn more about Anki, I suggest checking out this great YouTube video that I have mentioned in the resource section.